All right, so in today's video, we're going to be discussing the best to worst Mars sign to have. Now, what does Mars represent in astrology? Mars in astrology symbolizes action, ambition, and conflict resolution. So whatever sign your natal Mars is in when you were born, that's going to influence your action, ambition, and conflict resolution in life. So let's talk about the best to the worst signs. Now, mind you, if I say something negative about a sign, I'm also going to say something positive, okay? So for the sensitive people, relax. I'm also going to balance it out by saying something positive. So first things first, I'm sorry, the worst Mars sign, we got to start with the worst. Let's just rip the band-aid off. Mars in Libra. Sorry. Okay, we got to start there. Why do I put Mars in Libra first under worst Mars sign? Because Mars does not function very well in Libra because Mars is all about likes to fight, right? Mars is the planet that rules anger and aggression, and Libra is the peacemaker. So you have the planet of aggression in a peacemaking sign. So it doesn't work well. And what can happen is these people tend to pick fights a lot in their relationships and marriages. These people are good for picking fights with their partners, right? And they tend to destroy their relationships and partnerships because of that. That's one major flaw of Mars and Libra. Another major flaw is that, remember, Mars is all about action and decision making and acting on your decisions, the decisions that you make. When you have it in Libra, you're a fence sitter. You're always unsure about what decision to make. You're always like, you always need other people's help to figure out what decision to make. And that's a problem. That's why Mars does not function well in Libra, because fence sitters and you like to pick fights with people instead of seeking peace and harmony and compromise. Mars and Libra people have a very difficult time keeping peace and compromise because they're also very passive aggressive. Ah, man, I know Mars and Libra people all too well. But now on the positive, as far as Mars and Libra people, is they're usually very stylish. They can dress really nice, and when they want to be, they can be very charming, funny, great people to be around that want to please others, right? So yeah, and they can be good at beauty, fashion, music, art. That's usually where they shine. And yeah, and they're usually very driven and motivated towards being in a relationship, right? So the good thing is, the really, really good thing about Mars and Libra is they actually are motivated towards relationships, right? So you know that this person is invested in relationships if that's what you care about. But on the downside, they're going to pick a lot of fights with you. They're going to pick a lot of unnecessary fights with you, which will throw you off because it's like, wait a second, I thought you value and you put your energy into being in a relationship, your physical energy into being in a relationship. Why do you pick fights with me, right? It's that's why Mars does not function well in Libra, but still good people. Now, the second worst Mars sign, I'm sorry, I got to do it to you, Mars in Pisces. Now, don't feel no type of way because LeBron James has his Mars in Pisces and he's the greatest basketball player of all time, right? So it's not a terrible thing to be put in this category, but there is a big problem that comes with Mars in Pisces. These people can be escapist, big time escapist, lazy. They just want to, find ways to escape, whether it's through drugs, alcohol, sleeping a lot, video games. These people can be really terrible escapists. And going back to the LeBron James example, what's interesting is that the way how he balances, having the escapist in him is the Capricorn helps to make him very disciplined, but he likes to escape too. I heard LeBron James sleeps a lot, right? So that's how he escapes. And he drinks a lot of alcohol. Mars and Pisces people, they have a reputation for abusing drugs and alcohol. That's why this can be a really tough Mars sign to have, because it's very difficult for these people to stay sober. These people really struggle when it comes to sobriety. But when a Mars and Pisces person is operating at their best, they're compassionate, they're spiritual, they're selfless. They want to help the underdog in life. They want to help people who have been taken advantage of and that society doesn't care about. They can be really great people when it comes to that. But yes, but the major Mars and Pisces flaw, they like to practice escapism too much, and it can make them very lazy, and it can make them very unfocused too. And also another thing with Mars and Pisces is they like to play victim a lot. Oh my God, they can be terrible victims, and they can be the type that fight for the right to be victims. That's what's so dangerous about Mars and Pisces people, is they can fight for the right to be victims, right? But I still love you guys. I still love Mars and Pisces people. All right, now let's go to bad Mars sign. So what's a bad Mars sign? Meaning it's not terrible like having Mars in Libra and Mars in Pisces, but it's bad. Okay, first things first, Mars in Taurus. Sorry, I have to do it to you. why is Mars in Taurus a bad Mars sign? Because Taurus is all about comfort, routine, laziness. Mars wants to act. Mars wants to get things done and get moving and get after it. Taurus is like, I want to lay here. It feels comfortable here. It feels really nice. I like sitting on the couch. I like eating good food and watching TV and just relaxing and feeling good. Why do I have to exercise? What? Oh, you're crazy. These people can become very lazy and comfort and pleasure oriented, right? That's why this is a very difficult Mars sign to have, is they can get too routine, too fixated on their way of doing things, not being open to change, and it can make them very, very lazy and very comfort and pleasure driven, right? So the way how you overcome this when you have Mars in Taurus is you have to put your physical energy into money. 50 Cent has mastered this. The rapper 50 Cent has his natal Mars in Taurus, and he has mastered his Mars in Taurus to the highest level, because you see, he was able to become so wealthy. He always put his physical energy into making money. Taurus rules money, pleasure, and comfort. Yeah, 50 Cent, if you want to, study how to master Mars in Taurus on the highest level, is 50 Cent, because he was always physically driven and motivated, Mars, by getting that bag. Always by physically motivated by getting that bag. This dude sold drugs. Then he got into the music business and hustled that like it was a drug. He always moving towards cash flow and making money, cutting checks, right? Because that's what Taurus is. It's actual cash flow and getting paid for whatever it is that we do. That's Mars in Taurus. So yeah, so when you have Mars in Taurus, you got to make sure you're not being too lazy, right? Don't get too grounded in. And you see also too with 50 Cent, is you see like he'll go through these fluctuations where he's really fit and he really in shape, and then he'll be fat, because Taurus likes pleasure and to eat and to feel good. And Mars and Taurus people struggle a lot with their weight. Now the next bad Mars sign, I gotta do it to you. Mars in Cancer. I'm sorry. Why is Mars in Cancer a bad Mars sign? Remember, Cancer is associated with being very emotional, very defensive, very sensitive. And Mars is the planet of action and aggression. So you don't want action and aggression combined with sensitivity. You know who has this? Chris Brown. And when Chris Brown was younger, he really struggled with his Mars, where he would have these physical emotional outbursts. He would physically snap whenever he would get emotional. There's an iconic, situation of where he got mad at, he was doing some interview for like USA Today, some big news network, and he got mad because they asked him about the Rihanna incident, and he literally like threw a chair through a window, something crazy like that. He would get very emotional and have these emotional, angry outbursts. That's because Mars does not like being in Cancer. Mars doesn't function very well in Cancer because it can make these people have physical, dramatic, emotional outbursts, right? So the way how you master your Mars sign is you learn to control that. You don't, get so easily triggered and have these angry emotional outbursts, because that can get you into problems. And what Mars and Cancer people do too that's dangerous is they hold on to things. They hold it in, and then they snap, right? Like, don't do that. Don't hold these things in, and don't snap emotionally out of nowhere. And Mars and Cancer people at their best, they're the most nurturing people. They're great listeners. They're very good with family. They're very good with domestic matters, home involving mother. That they can be really good when it comes to those things. But at their worst, they will flip out in off emotion. And that's very, very difficult to deal with. It can destroy their relationships. It can destroy their work partnerships. So yeah, that's how you master having Mars in Cancer. All right, so now let's get into the okay Mars signs. What are the Mars signs where it's not terrible, it's not bad, but it's okay? Let's start off with Mars in Gemini. The reason why I would say Mars in Gemini is an okay Mars sign is because these people can be very anxious. They tend to be jack of all trades. They have 5,000 different things going on. It's hard for them to stay focused on one thing. But at their best, these people are very great students. They put a lot of their physical energy into learning and consuming knowledge and information, and they learn how to make productive use of all the knowledge and information that they accumulate. They know how to be good communicators and writers and speakers. Yeah, now at their worst, they can be very argumentative. They will argue just to argue. And they take passion in arguing, them being so argumentative can cause physical fights for them in their life, right? So that's one major downside of people who have their natal Mars in Gemini. These people, they like to argue, okay? They fight verbally. That's how they fight. They fight verbally, and that can get them into trouble. But like I said, at their best, natal Mars and Gemini people are great students, and they put a lot of their physical energy into learning and communicating and speaking, and all that physical energy that they put into those things, that's what helps them to, travel and become better students and teach others. Yeah, so that's how you master Mars in Gemini to the highest level. Now, what's another okay Mars sign? Mars in Aquarius. The reason why I say Mars in Aquarius is an okay Mars sign is because when you have the planet Mars of action in a very intellectual sign like Aquarius, it can make these people very, very odd when it comes to like their physical energy, like very strange physical energy, how they carry themselves and the things that they're into physically. It's very unconventional, right? So that's why I would say it's okay, because Mars ideally is like, I kind of don't want to be in this weird ass sign, and because Mars would prefer to be in an action, like a fire sign, or yeah, that's what Mars would prefer to be in. And I'm going to get into the other signs, but when it's in Aquarius, it's like, what am I doing in Aquarius? Like, I'm awkward. I don't know what I'm doing here. But at their best, Mars and Aquarius people are very good with like forming groups and being a part of a network. And like, for example, Drake has his Mars in Aquarius, right? And as you can see, he was able to build up a crew, OVO, right? That's what Aquarius is all about. Having a lot of friends, being a part of some type of club or group or community. People with Aquarius energy are really good at that. Tupac had his natal Mars in Aquarius. Jay-Z as well. I'm using a lot of rappers, for example. But anyway, so Mars and Aquarius people, that's the thing. They're very good when it comes to friendships and being a part of a group and, a network and all things involving science, electronics, and technology. But when it comes to like physical and sexual and romantic matters, they're very unconventional and strange. Okay, let's just leave it like that. That's why I would give Mars in Aquarius, an okay Mars sign. Is they're very unconventional and strange when it comes to physical and sexual matters, right? Because that's what Mars rules, physical and sexual matters. So yeah, they're okay. But I rock with Mars and Aquarius people. Yeah, like at their best, these people are geniuses. Oh, you know who also is my favorite Mars and Aquarius person? Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather having his natal Mars in Aquarius, that's why he's the best boxer to ever do it. Well, one of the best boxers to ever do it, because he's so robotic. Mars and Aquarius people, they can become very robotic with the things that they're good at. It's like this person is not even human. Like it's just second nature to them. Like the things that they do. Like if you study Floyd Mayweather's boxing, he's literally like a programmed robot. He can fight and never lose his cool, right? Because Aquarius is all about not having an ego and knowing how to be very good at practicing detachment, like not showing any emotion. You can separate yourselves from your emotion. So yeah, this is a good thing with people who have their Mars in Aquarius. They know how to execute, is they know how to detach from things emotionally very well when they want to, right? Yeah, like Floyd was able, like you see him fight, he never gets under pressure, he never gets emotional. He's like surgical, scientific. That's how Mars and Aquarius people are at their best. But they're weirdos. They're very strange, especially sexually. Now, what's the last okay Mars sign? Mars in Sagittarius. I gotta hit you with the okay. One major downside to having natal Mars in Sagittarius, these people lose things a lot. These people have no patience. They like to start things, never finish them, like jump from one thing to the next. But they're freedom seeking, opinionated, very intelligent people. Yeah, freedom seeking, intelligent, opinionated people. They're physically motivated by expanding their experiences and expanding their minds. That's what gets them out of bed in the morning. That's what physically motivates them, is I want to experience new things mentally and physically. But on the downside is they can be very impulsive, very reckless. They don't have any tact. When they get angry, they don't have any tact. It all comes out ruthlessly and bluntly, right? Yeah, Mars and Sagittarius people, boy, when they get mad, you're going to get the truth. You're going to get the brutal, raw, honest truth when they get mad, okay? And yeah, and because my brother has his natal Mars in Sagittarius, and he used to lose things so much, so much. Like he would buy a new phone, put it on top of his car, and then drive off, and the phone breaks. Like, dude, you just got that phone. Just so reckless, right? But yeah, so that's really Mars and Sagittarius people is at their best. They're very highly educated, well-traveled people, opinionated people, but at their worst, tactless, reckless, all over the place, be losing stuff, just got a lot going on, overly obsessed with freedom, right? That can be the downside to Mars and Sagittarius is these people can become overly obsessed with freedom to a point where it even rubs the people the wrong way. All right. Now, let's talk about a good Mars sign, right? So it's more than okay. Let's talk about a good Mars sign to have. So a good Mars sign to have is Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio people, man, when these people lock in on something, these people can be the greatest researchers of all time. Like when these people really lock in and get their teeth into something, because Scorpio is all about being a researcher and getting deep into the minds of others, right? And these people, when they become obsessed with something, right? Scorpio is obsessive energy. When these people get physically obsessed with something, there is no stopping them when they get locked in. So this is why Mars and Scorpio can be a really good Mars sign to have. But it's also what's so crazy is that I put Mars and Scorpio in the good Mars sign category, but I would also drop it in the lower tiers because this can make these people very self-destructive too. See, when Mars and Scorpio people are operating at their best, then yes, this is a amazing, like really, really good Mars sign to have, Mars and Scorpio. But at their worst, man, they are so self-destructive. They are so self-destructive where so much of their physical energy goes into self-destructive behavior. But if you have your natal Mars in Scorpio and you can get that under control, you can get, your natural tendency to be self-destructive under control, and you can focus on productive things. Like, because the way how you master Scorpio energy is you become obsessed about productive things. Like you become obsessed about things that are positive, right? Like for example, I think of a good detective. Like a great detective would have their natal Mars in Scorpio where they put that obsessive energy into catching criminals, right? Whereas on the flip side, a natal Mars in Scorpio person, it could be the criminal, right? Could be the one who puts their physical energy into self-destruction because they do crime, right? On the other side, you got the detective that's obsessed with catching the bad guys. That's how Mars in Scorpio can be a good Mars sign to have. It's how you channel your obsessive Scorpio energy. Are you channeling your obsessive Mars in Scorpio energy in a positive way? What's another good Mars sign to have? It's more than okay. It's not the best. What's another good Mars sign to have? Mars in Virgo. Now, why is Mars in Virgo a good Mars sign to have? Because Virgo is all about efficiency, right? Mars has to do with action, ambition. So, what better sign to be in than the sign of efficiency, right? What better sign to be in than the sign of efficiency if we're talking about action, right? Physical energy and where we direct our physical energy, right? So that's what can make this a good Mars sign is Mars and Virgo people are very efficient at whatever it is that they do physically. Whatever they physically pursue, they're going to do it in a very precise, efficient way. But on the downside, the reason why it's a good and not the best Mars sign is because Mars and Virgo people can be very high strung, very critical, self-critical, critical of others, pessimistic, negative, nitpicky, very fussy about things, definitely overly negative, like always seeing the negative in situations instead of seeing the positive, being too critical and too harsh, especially when they get angry. Because see, Mars in Sagittarius, they're brutally honest when they get upset. But Mars and Virgo people, when they get upset, you're being efficiently eviscerated. Like not only are you being destroyed, you're being destroyed efficiently. Like I'm gonna cook you efficiently and come after you when I get mad, right? They come at you in a very, very efficient manner. Closest person I could think of off the top of my head that has Mars in Virgo is basketball player James Harden. And he's one of the best basketball players of all time. Very efficient when you watch him play. King efficiency when you watch his style of how he's able to, how he approaches the game of basketball. You see just pure efficiency, right? That's one guy off the top of my head that I can think of that has their Mars in Virgo. But yeah, it just makes this person have the physical energy of someone who's very refined, very efficient, but they can also be very high strung and critical. Very, very high strung, critical, mean as hell. Yeah, that's the downside to Mars and Virgo people. Now, we got to get into the best Mars signs. The best, right? What do we have here? We got to start off with Mars in Aries. Why is Mars in Aries the best Mars sign? Because Aries Aries is ruled by Mars, right? So Mars feels very comfortable in Aries. Mars loves being in Aries. Mars is right at home in Aries, right? But it's interesting that even though Aries is the best Mars sign to have, it's also a dangerous Mars sign to have because these people can be very reckless. Very reckless, like known for getting into accidents a lot of fights, a lot of crazy situations. Like, how do you stay getting into these fights and these altercations and these reckless situations? Mars and Aries people are some of the most reckless people. They can be reckless financially, they can be reckless sexually. Yeah, they can be super, super reckless, but they get after it. They take action. They get things done. When they want something done, oh, they get it done. Okay, that's one thing you have to respect about Mars and Aries people. And what makes them have one of the best Mars signs is they physically pursue what they want. They do not play around when it comes to physically pursuing the things that they want in life. They are natural go-getters, natural pioneers, natural hustlers. They get after it. But once they can tame the recklessness and the tendency to fight and get into it with people, then and they could just focus on being an entrepreneur and a hustler and self-employed and independent, focus on the good side of Aries, then they're good, right? That's how you master the best and the worst part of having Mars in Aries. Now, what's the second best Mars sign? Mars in Capricorn. These people have incredible stamina. What if you need if you're this is a great placement for an athlete. Some of the best athletes in the world have their natal Mars in Capricorn. I think Steph Curry. Yeah, I think Steph Curry has his Mars in Capricorn. He is arguably one of the greatest shooters of all time in basketball, right? And Mars in Capricorn gives these people tremendous discipline. These people can outwork anybody. But on the downside to Mars in Capricorn is they can end up taking on a lot of burdens. Like they got a lot of people to take care of and be responsible for, and the burdens can kind of like drag them down, and their responsibilities can drag them down and make them angry. Or it can be a situation where they're very disciplined and they put in the work to become successful so they can be a provider and they can take care of the people in their lives and take care of themselves. That's very important to a Mars and Capricorn person. They just want to be successful and stable, right? Because not just stable, because Taurus is more about just being stable. No, they want to actually feel successful. Like, I have actual assets. I have a great career. I have status. I have a reputation. They want everything that comes with success, right? But yeah, so you have to express the best of Mars and Capricorn. Be very disciplined, right? Learn how to be a better provider and more successful. And don't allow yourself to take on too many liabilities and responsibilities where now you're hurting your chance at being successful because you got all these burdens, you got all these liabilities that you have to take care of. And now the last but not least best Mars sign, Mars in Leo. Man, when I say if the best athletes in the world have Mars in Leo, let's break it down. Not only the best athletes in the world, the best performers. Oh my God. Mars and Leo, we got Michael Jordan, we got Serena Williams, we got Beyonce. Who else? I'm missing somebody. Oh, I think Meg Thee Stallion has her Mars in Leo. Oh man, I'm missing some more people. Who else has? Oh, John Jones. He's one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. He has his Mars in Leo. Man, Mars in Leo is an incredible placement to have for an athlete. Kawhi Leonard is another incredible athlete with his Mars in Leo. These people are amazing athletes and performers. I mean, their whole physical energy and drive is to be recognized and to get attention and to be seen and to be noticed. They're very physically motivated towards romance, dating, children. This is a really, really great Mars to have. Having Mars in Leo, I'm very jealous of people who have their Mars in Leo. I'm a Leo sun, but I wish I had my Mars in Leo. Man, what a great Mars placement to have. Yeah, these people are, they're showmen, right? They're funny. They love to be the center of attention, right? Very motivated by romantic partners and dating and having fun, being a leader. These people are natural leaders, natural athletes, and natural performers, but they have to watch for ego being their downfall, right? That's the main downside that can come with having Mars and Leo. Too much ego, or they get into situations where they fight with romantic partners, right? They end up fighting over matters involving children. You don't want that to be the story of your life, all right? So, yes, that's the best and worst Mars signs, from best to good to okay to bad to worst. Make sure you comment down below and let me know what you think of my tiers list of the best to worst Mars signs.